On today's episode of Let's Talk Dog Business, we have Victoria Stillwell, the one and only lady from It's Me or the Dog TV fame. In this episode, we actually end up talking a little bit about my favourite thing on how money shouldn't be a dirty word and how you can be super powerful in your business. So on today's episode, we've got a pretty special guest, the one and only Victoria Stillwell. So as much as we love you and we feel like we know so much about you, there may be some people out there that are not quite sure who you are. So would you mind giving them a little bit of information about yourself and tell us what you've been up to recently?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you inviting me. And I am a dog trainer. I've been a dog trainer and behavior expert for over 20 years now. I started off in the UK as a dog walker. I had a dog walking company and also a dog sitting company at the same time as I was trying to become the world's most famous actor. And I went to university and drama school, but all throughout that, I had my sort of second job, as it were, which was dog sitting and dog walking. Through that, I started to become really fascinated in the way dogs learnt. And then I began to study to become a dog trainer. So I moved to New York City in 1999, and I opened my dog training business there called Dog Trainers of New York, followed by Dog Trainers of New Jersey. And after doing that for many years, I then came up with the idea for a television show because at that time I was working in rescue and I was really sick of the waste of life I was seeing in the shelters in New York City and the 5 boroughs. And I thought there needs to be some bigger vehicle than what I can do right now that will get the message out there about responsible pet ownership, but also that if your dog has a behavior issue, there's something you can do. And that's how I came up with the idea for It's Me or the Dog. I was a young mum. My daughter was about 8 months old. And I sat down to watch the first episode of The Super Nanny. Jo Frost, right? The Super Nanny was big at that time in the UK, but they also brought her over to America. So I was seeing the first American show. And I remember getting really excited. I was like, yes, that's what I need to do for dogs. So I found out who the producers were. They were a production company in the UK based in Brighton. And I wrote them an email that night with my treatment, with my idea. Instead of crazy kids, I'd be working with crazy dogs. And the rest is history. They contacted me the next day. And my husband was a videographer. And so they were like, can you show us some footage of you training and your idea? So we went, and I was working with a crazy, wonderful family in New Jersey at the time. So I asked if it was okay if I could film with them. And we did. We made an 8-minute little teaser, I should say, called Super Trainer. And that's what sold it to Channel 4. That's how It's Me or the Dog was born. Gosh, that was in late 2004. So 2005, it started airing It's Me or the Dog. And now we just finished filming the 10th series. So yes, in the UK, that's going to be coming up in August. And I have also finished filming the second season of another show for Channel 4 called The Dog Academy. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Plus, I also run an academy to train dog trainers or to teach people to be dog trainers. And I have a great website.
And that is a perfect example of a go-getting attitude of going, I'm just going to do this and see what happens. I love that.
Yes, it was a really, I hadn't done, I'd done a few TV stuff as an actor before, and I'd done some voiceovers, but I'd never trained a dog on television at all. And so it was, but I remember knowing that my idea was the right idea and it was going to work. And I remember sitting as I put my daughter to bed, and I had gone to sit in my bed and just watch TV and just relax for a little bit. And then I just remember I started shaking all over because I was like, this is the idea. This is it. This is how we're going to rescue more dogs. And I just knew it was going to work. Now, it's not easy to get a television show, and it's not easy convincing people, and so it was quite a process. But in terms of television at that time, it was quite short. So that was in November. And by March, we were filming the pilot. Yeah. So it truly was. And I've always been like that, fly by the seat of my pants kind of person. And it just not afraid to take risks. And some things don't work. In fact, when you're talking television and media, you can come up with 20 ideas and only one will work, but it's not for want of trying. My husband runs our business full time now. And I will run to him sometimes and go, I got a great idea. And he rolls his eyes and goes, oh my God, what
what's
now?
coming?
And then he goes, that sounds fabulous. How are we going to do it?
I love that question. That is my favorite question to ask all the time. Isn't it? It's like, oh, how? How are we going to do it? Not like, oh, it's not possible or you can't do that. It's like, brilliant. How are we going to do it? And I think it's just it's such an important question to ask. And I think that this can relate so much to people in the dog training industry at the moment who may be feeling a little bit stuck, or there's still this, I feel like whilst movement is definitely going in the right direction, and certainly we're hoping we get to be a big part of that as well, because I think we've both had that same feeling that you were just describing, of that full shaking, just full knowing that what we're doing is going to make a huge difference. It's when people are feeling that overwhelmed and going, how can I possibly just make this training business work for me? It's where do you turn to get that question answered? And who is going to be the person that's going to help you on that journey? And I suppose, where do you even know on where to turn on that? So I suppose in your example, you were saying you knew to contact the producer of that Super Nanny show, but it's that determination to try and figure out who that is in the first place.
Yeah, I had no idea how to write a treatment as an idea, and how to write a treatment for television. So it's it takes quite a long time. So, but at that time, I don't even know if we had Google at that time. But anyway, I went online and I found out, how to write a treatment for television. And that's for if you've got an idea for a TV show. And they had some information out there, and I did it. I followed it. And so it was not a well thought out plan, but it was something that I absolutely knew that I had to do from my very core. And that's why, regardless of whether you like It's Me or the Dog or not, regardless of what you think about training techniques or not, the reason why it works is not so much because I do think it's a great show and we do have great families and interesting problems, and hopefully the training is good too, but it's 100% genuine. It comes from 100% genuine place. And that's what I always tell students of the Victoria Stillwell Academy, and anybody that is interested in becoming a dog trainer, is that if you are authentic, it will shine through. And that's it. Be authentic and be genuine. And then people, I think it's a certain amount of trust you need, certainly in this business. But I think then people will trust you more.
And it sounds to me like you knew your purpose was so strong. And you said your core, like you said, it was in there. It was in your inner core, and that shaking and kind of, yeah, we've had similar. We talk to lots of people about finding their purpose and finding the why behind the business. And I do feel like this is where people get very stuck, because there is a why. Like, everybody has one. You don't start a dog training business just for, pretty much you don't start it to make loads of money. You don't start it as an easy career, because it isn't. It's really difficult, isn't it? So what would you say to someone if they're struggling to find that purpose?
It doesn't have to be huge. Your why doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be, hey, I want to save the world. It might just be, this is what I love doing. Or I'm really fascinated in how dogs learn. Or I really want to help rescue. Or even this just makes me feel happy. It doesn't have to be huge, but as long as you do have a why, because you cannot go into this business. You can't go into this business not liking people, because you're going to be working with people. You're not just going to be working with animals, unless you're in a rescue environment where you have been employed to just be the rescue coordinator and work with the dogs. you are going to be working with people. But finding your why that comes from a genuine place, however big, however small, is what's going to propel you and make you authentic in this business. As you said, it's a tough business. I think people go into dog training because they're like, oh, we've seen it on television and oh, they're making lots of money. And no. First of all, if you think you're going to come into this business and you're going to make loads of money, then you have to think again, because this is not a business that is going to help you do that very fast. It is, if you come into this business and go, I'm really interested and really want to help dogs and their people, then that's a good why. That's enough. That's where you're going to see success, because this is a hard business. This is not a very well recognized business. This is a business that still doesn't have, I believe, what's the word? And it's not cachet. It's that it's not taken seriously enough as being an area of expertise. It's almost like, and I don't want to do any profession down, but I don't think that we are to the level of experts that people think we are. I think we're just like another support system to make the house function correctly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I wanted to ask you actually, what do you think, or rather, what are your thoughts on how the dog industry has changed, if indeed it has at all, in your career? Because, I mean, between us, we've been doing it for about 25 years and it doesn't feel like it's moved on. Like, I think the knowledge is moving on. I think the actual dog behaviour and all the science and everything, that seems to be eking forward. But from a delivery point of view and a professional standpoint with the public's opinion of us, I don't feel that that's moved on at all.
I think you are right to a point. And it's all about public perception, isn't it? And when I first started, in a way, it seemed like that this was an even sort of more respected profession, as it were. People didn't really know how to take dog trainers, but they needed them. So it was almost, you're kind of the level of your vet as well, so that people had the dog trainer and the vet. And it was, but I do feel that it's kind of a roller coaster. It's up and down. And when I first started, there weren't a lot of us around, especially in Manhattan. When I came over to Manhattan, there really weren't a lot of dog trainers. So I was incredibly busy. And I don't think people knew what to make of me. Some people would employ me and then they would, I've had it all. Really, I've had it all. You come in and then, oh, I'm going out. If you can train my dog, please. And I'm like, actually, no. We had to talk about this on the phone and you have to be here present whilst I work with your dog. This is not a board and train. This is not, I'm just going to come in whilst you go out to dinner and work on your dog. I do think now, I think it is a more known profession, but I still don't think we've attained the level that we need to, because it is unlicensed, it is unregulated. Anybody can set themselves up to be a dog trainer. You do not need a certification. You don't need a lot of experience, because people with very little experience, they might take a weekend course and say, hey, I'm a dog trainer. And until we get that part sorted, which is its own beast, until we get that sorted, then we're going to struggle, and we're going to continue to struggle. So there are attempts in the UK to address that. And we have the UK Dog Behaviour and Training Charter, which is a charter of 10 founding members of very big schools and organizations that have come together with a code of ethics. And the charter is growing all the time, and we're adding new members all the time. And of course, the central theme of that charter is welfare for dogs, welfare for people. And so there, we are not going to accept shock collars or prong collars or choke collars or any of that. It's very, very, but we, the people that are part of that charter, the general public can go to that website and go, hey, I need to find a trainer. And I know that this trainer from this organization has to follow a set code of ethics. So that is what we have tried to, the big schools in the UK have tried to do in order to have a sort of one-stop resource for people who are looking to have a trainer come into their home that they know follows a certain set of ethics, but also knows what they're talking about. And in an unregulated industry, that was how we have started. When you get the government in, then that's going to be really hard, because what are the limits you set? What are the devices you can use? What are the methods that they're going to allow? There has to be a code of ethics when it comes. So when you're talking about making legislation that all dog trainers need to be licensed through the government, or where we're talking real, I mean, I think it's very, very hard. They're trying to do the same in America as well, but that's a very long answer to your question.
No, but there's lots of different facets, I suppose, in everything, isn't there? And what I was trying to think of was, whilst she was talking, was I feel like there's more we could be doing internally as an industry to either, I don't know, whether it's collaborating more, whether it's paying a bit more attention to our businesses and how we run them and how we portray them to the public, rather than, and again, I appreciate that this is a very generic outlook. However, I feel it's a bit more accurate than the small percentage that is out there. But if we as an industry are always acting fearful of another trainer popping up next to us, like they're in our territory, and as we lovingly refer to it, we start resource guarding our business, and we start feeling really fearful that someone's going to come and take all of the dogs away from us. And that's when you almost end up in these, a bit like pricing wars, isn't it? Where suddenly like discounts are being like thrown around, or it's well, I could do this maybe a little bit better than that one. And then that's when I've actually seen it where people are having conversations with the public and almost slating other trainers because of whether it's a method choice, or again, and you can see that it comes from a place of fear, that they're like, I need that, I need you, whether it's from a monetary gain because we're going, I need to pay my bills, so I need you as a client to get some cash in, or like, I really don't want you going to that other person for whatever reason or the other, like I want to be the person to help that dog. So I don't know, like in your opinion, what do you think we could be doing internally to make it a bit better?
Well, that's why I think the charter is so amazing, because it is collaboration. Who would have thought that these big schools that truly are in competition with each other would actually collaborate? So I think if we can do it, then, and we're all going for the same money, we're all going for the same people. But if we can collaborate, anybody can collaborate. But I understand that fear. You open up your dog business in a town and you're doing really well. And then somebody comes along and maybe you're their mentor, or they come and shadow you, or they're your apprentice. And then all of a sudden they set up. And now you're seeing less business come your way because the person that you mentored has just set up down the road and is now taking clients from you. That happens all the time. So people have a right to be fearful. People have a right to resource guard. We resource guard our homes and our cars and our things because they're important to us, and we don't want other people to take them. This is the same thing. You have to be able to put food on the table to feed your family. You need to be able to earn your money. And so this happens all the time. It also happens with bigger businesses coming in and undercutting. And there is one particular business in the UK that offers very, very low cost training in areas, and have kind of blanketed the UK with very low cost training in the very halls where other trainers who've been there for years and years run their businesses. That I think is deplorable. So we have at VSPDT, we have the Victoria Stillwell Positively Dog Trainers, which is a an umbrella organization that, we all train in the same way. And when we license a trainer, we make sure that they can be the only trainer licensed in a certain area, right? And so it means that there cannot be another VSPDT within a certain mileage of where that VSPDT trainer lives. And so that's the way that we've tackled it. But that doesn't stop somebody else from coming in. And I've heard from trainers that work with me or that I'm friends with, where people have come in and have badmouthed them, and not people that aren't VSPDTs, just people who've learned from other organizations or just haven't learned at all and read a book and now they're going to be a trainer. And then they start badmouthing. And of course, everybody can badmouth everybody now because social media has given everyone a voice. And I would say that the industry, if you're coming into this industry, you will at some point probably go down the rabbit hole of getting on social media and bad-mouthing a trainer or saying your techniques aren't right. It happens. It's human nature. But in a way, you do have to resource guard and you do have to protect your business. And you don't want a shot collar trainer coming down the road and opening up and taking clients, putting a shot collar on these dogs, because we know what those can do. We don't want that to happen. So now it's becoming a welfare issue as well. And I think that's the pressure that trainers are under. But that's the negative side. The positive side is that I also know trainers that have an amazing network of trainers that live very close to them, but they refer. So they're busy. They don't want to deal with separation anxiety, but there's another trainer that will. And so they refer. And when that happens, it works. So if you can get that kind of support network, that I know that so-and-so down the road does puppies and loves it, but I don't want to do puppies. I just want to focus on aggressive behavior. Do you see what I mean? So it doesn't have to be negative. It can be. And that does mean that you do have to reach out to people in your area, and hopefully they're willing to collaborate as well, because training can be a very, very lonely and isolating profession, especially when you're just working for yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it is something, all those things you've said there are considerations and definitely things that come to the forefront in the work that we're doing. And it's a definite innate fear in people. Yeah. And I suppose our mission is to try to intrinsically change that fear to be not only collaboration, which is a huge thing that can help, but almost like bring out your own superpower so that you can not fear the person who's moved next to you, but go, I'm me and I offer this and I do it differently. And it's almost like, people buy from people. At the end of the day, we could be offering very similar services, couldn't we, to the next person, but they're going to pick you. And we want people to really think about, and it comes back to that purpose we were talking about earlier. And if you know that strong purpose and you've got that as the driving force, then everything else comes off the back of it. And I suppose it's talking about how we bring that confidence out in people. Yeah. And what we really try and do is go, rather than fear the people around you, is how can we bring that confidence out? So what would your kind of advice be for somebody to start bringing that confidence out? And again, going back to that purpose and why, and how can we bring that all together, and values and mission and vision and all of those kind of things? What advice would you give in that respect?
Well, we have an expression here is you do you, which means that you focus on what you are doing. And I think it's easy for trainers to look at others and go, they're doing that and they're doing that. But you have to focus on what you're doing, because you're going to expend so much energy through that fear, or this person's opened up down the road, or this person's doing this and this person took that client, that actually all of that energy is going to go to that and not to what you should be focusing on, which is building your business. I think once you start to do that and you clear all the noise from your head, then you're going to be able to see results. You're going to become so much more confident. And you know what? So-and-so might take a dog away from you. So-and-so might start doing agility and more people are going to go to their classes. You have to be flexible and know when to pivot as well. Okay, well, then maybe they're better at doing agility than I am, but I'm going to pivot now and I'm going to offer these kind of classes. So I think you need to be flexible. I think you You need to have the confidence to explore and just focus on what you are doing. And when you do that, it just brings more clarity.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I like what you said there about like when you focus on your business, and that it's like you do you in your business. And it is our real deep-rooted, strong belief that actually if you do really look at your business like a business, which is really hard for a lot of trainers because we've got into it almost as a little bit of a hobby, and we love it, and we love working with dogs, and we love geeking out on it. And I mean, ultimately that's how I got into it. I got a husky for my first dog and thought, oh, how does your brain work? And I was just really interested. And my why changed over the years the more I kept doing it. So my initial in was that whole I'm interested in behavior. I just want to understand it. And then it evolved. But by focusing on the business and seeing how my passion, I suppose, and the desire to educate, because I realized that I really loved coaching people. So actually my dog business became very much marketed, I suppose, as I'm coaching the humans. And the dogs were like the byproduct. Like they just evolved from a happy thing just because I was educating the humans. But I had that focus on the business, and I did like the amount of people I could see out there going, well, why are you not focusing on the dog? Why are you not telling people that you're going to fix the dog and, do all of this amazing stuff? And I was like, well, because I'm doing me. And that for me worked really well. And now in turn it works for us when we rebranded and merged those two businesses together. So I just think it's really nice to hear, actually, just like in support of do you and focus on the business as well.
Yeah. And I think it's much nicer actually to have a support system around you. I think it's lovely to be able to talk to your fellow trainers, either your business partner. I had a business partner in Manhattan. I was a bit it's just when I was just myself going around and had like 4 private consults a day going from apartment to apartment. And it was kind of lonely. And then I got a business partner, and it was so much more fun because we could bat ideas and we could talk to each other about either a great client we had or not. And it was so much better. So actually collaborating, I was so much happier collaborating with somebody rather than just doing it on my own. And having that support system around you, I still need it. I run a huge company now along with my husband, and he's my support system and I'm his, but I still need to have a group of trainers and we meet every week, and we meet on Zoom and we chat and we go through either clients that we have or issues that we have. And we've been doing that for years, even before the pandemic. And that has been really important. So it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be somebody in your area. If you can get a group of trainers that it could be other parts of the world too, as long as the time works. I mean, here I am in Atlanta talking to you in the UK. I think it's important. And that really helps your confidence as well, especially when maybe things aren't going so well. And then people can give you great ideas. And yes, I've been around for a long time, but I'm still learning. I also think that's the mark of a good trainer is flexibility and also being open to learning all the time, because behavioral and cognitive science is always developing. We're always finding out more and better ways of doing things. So I think that's the wonderful part of this business, is that there's so much to learn. You're never going to know it all. And there's so many ways that you can explore and get a great supportive community around you.
It's so nice, isn't it? It just feels like really warm and fuzzy, going like, yes, there are people out there we can talk to. And it's just really nice. So have you had, or do you have any mentors at the moment that are helping you either in like a personal development kind of area, or as you said, like there's always that assumption that we're always doing the dog knowledge. But I always think it's an interesting question to ask dog folk, because everyone goes, why would I do anything other than learn about dogs? We seem to stop there.
Well, I have to say a lot of the work I do is about dogs. So, my hobbies, as it were, are things that are quite active so that I can get a lot of my energy out on hiking and cycling and things like that. And of course, I'm a mom as well. My daughter's just gone off to college, so it's a bit of a tricky time regard personally for that because I miss her. But I would definitely say that my mentors are people that I work with. And we've developed these amazing courses at positively.com for dog guardians. And that's what we call dog owners at Positively. But these courses are state of the art, incredible, fabulous, easy courses for dog guardians to do. But there are also courses dog trainers can use to support their education to clients. So for example, if you've done a lesson and you've taught your dog, or you've taught the client how to teach their dog to do touch, for example, or the client needs more help with body language, then the trainer can say, because we don't have a lot of time, hey, go take this course at Positively. And it's called How to Speak Dog. And you'll find all the information you need to know about body language before I meet you again for our next lesson. Building and developing those courses, and now doing more courses on reactivity and things like that for our students at VSA and for guardians at Positively. I have two people that challenge me and just blow my mind, because whenever we develop a course, we start with a meeting and we start to bat ideas. And so those minds are amazing. One of them is Maya Huff-Owens, another is Ali Lesner. And they both work for us. But these women, after I've come off from a conversation with them, I want to go and just, shout it out of my front door of like, this has been the best meeting ever, because we are thinking so much, so far in advance of what the dog training norms are even now, that it's so exciting, and we can't wait for people, that knowledge to be distilled down so that guardians, owners, people, whatever you want to call them, can use them as well as trainers. So I would say those are my mentors right now. I really don't have mentors outside because I'm so embroiled right now, but I'd probably say my husband is my best mentor.
Oh, I love that. It's I think it's really nice when you've got that mentor relationship with like your colleagues and your peers as well, because you're always learning from other people, even if, like you say, like for you, you've not got that in necessarily like a paid for service of somebody else, but you've got that with your team, and you're able to still learn from them. And then again with your husband, I think it really makes it a really obvious thing for me anyway, that the importance of relationships. And I think it's really important to almost think about those relationships when you are with your clients as well, because I think again it's quite an easy thing for us dog folk to forget that there is a human attached to the dog sometimes, and potentially we find it difficult to resonate with that person attached to the dog because of how much knowledge we have, and because of how much we care, and because of how much we are emotionally invested in everything. Concentrating on the awareness of relationships, I think, is really important.
Yeah, relationship building, even when you're with a client, is. And as a young greener trainer, I went into private consults and I'd give them all of the fabulous information, and we'd be there for 2 hours. And then I'd leave going, gosh, wasn't I great? Didn't they get a lot of great information? And on to the next one I would go. I didn't realize I was so exhausted by the end of the day. Well, there's a reason for that. I'd been in there too long. I'd imparted too much information. The poor client's head was exploding. And I didn't take into consideration that all the words that I were using that they couldn't understand in a million years. This is dog trainer speak, right? So as I grew in the profession, I started to truly simplify. And now we really focus on simplification of like, what can your clients take on? How busy are they? What are they going to be able to work on in between sessions, if that's what you're doing, or between group classes? You really have to be client-centered as well as dog-centered. I always say dog-centered first, then client-centered, but they're both really important because then you get buy-in. So simplification in this business is vital. They don't want a lot of information. They do want you to come in and stop the problem or teach their dog to do something. And they want you to do it as quickly as possible. And most clients, they don't want to work on it a lot. So I think it is important now in this business that we focus on making things as easy and as simple for clients so that we get buy-in and we see ultimate success for dogs.
Yeah. And actually this leads to something I was thinking about as you were talking earlier about the way that you create these courses and you could hear the excitement and feel the excitement about we've got this thing. It's amazing.
I love it. It
exudes.
Yeah, it is exudes. It's oh my God, it's like contagious. I can feel it. And I want to do it. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah. The passion's there. But when you're creating these courses, when you're in that kind of collaborative headspace and you're all putting your heads together and creating these new amazing things for owners, that simplification thing is so key, isn't it, to do that? So talk us through the thought process of what it is you create, first of all, and then how you go about simplifying that so that it actually lands with the owners or the guardians, as you call them, in the right way with the achievable goals that they need to be able to implement that to change their dog's behaviour.
When we're developing courses, we have to, it's like even doing a television show, right? It has to be entertaining for buy-in. And I'm not sort of saying entertaining in a kind of reality TV kind of way. I'm saying that it has to keep the adult learner engaged because we have around 10 minutes, 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes of actual focus time before we need to refocus. So we take that on board with adult learners and we make it that here we have a bit of information, then we have some video. Then we have a bit of information, then you take a little quiz. Then a bit more information and there's great animation. So that we're always keeping the brain engaged. And it's also a course that a guardian can pause as well. And you can walk away and then you can come back. Even when we're on the computer right now, we always say, and so when we're doing some online courses with our students at VSA, we're like, okay, want to take a break? Just turn your head and look out the window now for 20 seconds. Broaden your vision. Take your head away from the computer. So we are always working in adult learning, how adults learn best and what is easiest and simplest for clients to learn. And so with the courses, if you go to Positively, you have to sign up, but we have a load of free courses. So some are paid for obvious reasons. We got to keep our business going, but there's a lot of free ones. And so if you're interested, we say, go and take a free one, and then you can get a kind of idea. Some of the courses are a bit more in-depth than others, but let's say if you wanted to go take the touch course, it's pretty easy. We do break it down into steps, but it's pretty simple. But there are courses like Why Does My Dog? And it talks about, why your dog does the things that dogs do. And so that's more of a sort of knowledge-based course, or managing your dog's energy levels. There's some really just good, quick tips and hits that people can go, oh God, I can use those with my dog. So we wanted to make every course has got to be a story. It's got to have a beginning and a middle and an end. It's got to engage. It's got to have where the actual learner can do activities as well, take quizzes and test their knowledge, because with testing comes retention. And so that's how we built, and we built at Ali Lesner. She's a sort of a master builder in that way. She's taken a lot of courses in how adults learn, especially online. And so, we have that really fabulous team that can come up with the ideas, that know how to create something very, very special.
And in terms of implementation for the guardians, so they're taking one of your courses, they're doing it all, and hopefully in the way that you've described there, how do you measure that a success? So is there a way you can do that? Do you get feedback from people? So tell me about that.
I think getting reviews is important. So if you're a trainer and you want to be able to promote your business, word of mouth is great, but it's also fabulous to have on your website people that are like either through video or just through a little bit of text of like their experience, so that it's a reference basically. And when you get feedback like that, we always ask for feedback all the time. So whether I go to a client and it's just I want the feedback. And if it's good feedback, great. Can I use it on my website? Thank you. I'll ask permission first and then I'll put it on my website. If it's bad feedback, why? What can I do to improve? Not just, oh, well, that's horrible. That was a nasty thing to say about me. But what can I do to improve? Right? Because you're not going to gel with everybody and things aren't going to work all the time. And that's okay. So I would say that being able to promote, don't be afraid to promote yourself. As somebody who grew up in the UK, then coming over to America where they are very overt promoters. It was a kind of baptism of fire, but I've sort of learned to be more of an American promoter than a UK promoter. Because I think in the UK, certainly back when I was living there, it was very much like, don't toot your own horn too much, don't brag too much. And we're not saying we're bragging, but we're saying, hey, what we do, we're actually really good at this. And I want to share this with you. So I've kind of taken that in everything that I do with Positively. And I also tell my students, look, when they graduate, you have paid money and you have gone through this really intense course. And you have now graduated. You have the foundation and the skills now to go out and start your own business. Don't be shortchanged. Go out there as anybody who's gone to university or a school can now go out into the world and start earning money. Don't be afraid to ask for what you're worth, because you have knowledge way beyond a client and they have employed you to go and impart that knowledge. So be proud of the fact that you have that knowledge. Go share that knowledge and don't cheapen that knowledge by being too cheap. Do you see what I mean? I think that's really important for every trainer, to not be coy about it. Celebrate your knowledge, share that, and, be paid what you're worth.
Oh, I love that. That's very exciting for me to hear. I always think, I feel like, actually, I've given myself this name, is that I'm always the one talking about money, but I feel like I want to talk about it because for me, it shouldn't be a dirty word. It's like, you've got to keep your business afloat. Like I myself, I've got 2 young boys. How am I going to be able to do what I do and keep them alive, essentially, and give them the life that I want to give them, and that we can share these experiences together? And, how am I going to do that if I'm not promoting ourselves as someone that actually is going, no, do you know what? We are bloody good at what we do. And like we were saying earlier, like we can feel your passion and your enthusiasm, and you can, when someone's really in their flow, we're like, oh, and it's really attractive because you want to be brought into that. So from the public point of view, and I think this circles back nicely to what we were talking about earlier on that public perception and how this profession could come across as a little bit more professional. And I think if there is a magical injection out there of like confidence, you could just go around and give it to everybody and go, look at all this stuff that look at how much you invest every single year on your knowledge on dogs. And for us, like just tying it back into what we're doing on going, if you invest again in your business, like spend some time in your business and working on it, not just the delivery and not just the dog knowledge, because it's all important. And then when you've got all of that knowledge and you start to do the implementation, then that's where your confidence will naturally grow. And I think that is where we will see a really big shift in public perception on our industry, because we will be walking around going, yeah, I know my stuff, without the cockiness of it. But it's like, I do know it and I want to share it with you.
it's a serious business. This is a serious business where people spend a lot of time and money learning how to do this. And it is not an easy business. It's not easy training dogs. But I do have to say as well, when you're talking about the money portion, I know that I get this a lot. Oh, Victoria, you're fine because you're making lots of money, whatever. Well, let me tell you that television does not make you a lot of money. I knew that It's Me or the Dog has a shelf life, right? It's not going to go on forever. I thought that at the time. Okay. So we have been quite successful with it. But, right, I've just bought a new car, right? But I had a car since 2007. I haven't bought my yacht yet. So yeah, I don't really want a yacht. But you know what I mean? And it's almost like, no, I have grinded. I know what it's like. I have been there. And I had to, around the television show, develop a business where I was going to be able to put food on the table from my family, where my husband and I could afford to live in a house and have a car and live. And I am not going to be precious about it. I'm not going to apologize for it. Yes, I've been very successful. Yes, now I have more money than I used to, but I'm not going to apologize for that because I have worked so hard and I've worked in a genuine way. I do think with terms of the profession that even though it's Me or the Dog, and now I know there's some other dog training television shows, that sometimes maybe the shows have maybe done a bit of disservice to the profession in that, oh, well, I just watch a show and I can do it, or that looks easy, or that's so quick and you can do it in 30 minutes, you can do it. And so I don't think that has been great for the cause in one respect, but I do think it's also brought dog training out to the fore. So these dog trainers are out there good enough to be put out there. And so, we need to be respected. But may I just say also that this is a female-dominated industry. But women still in the profession, in any profession, are not given the kudos that they are due. And so we struggle still with that of like, if you stand out loud and proud, or you stand up against something, then you're meddling, you're a diva, you're a money grabber, you're this or that. And women, I think, get a bad rap that if we are strong and confident, we're called all these kind of names designed to pull us down. Well, people will do that. They'll do that on social media, whether they're women or men doing it, they'll do that to you. Lose sight of that. That is just, sometimes it's jealousy. It's just, who cares about that? You focus on what you do and be proud that you are a woman in this industry. Be proud that you are making money and go out there and do the best you possibly can.
Oh, that's powerful.
It is, isn't it?
I like it. I like it a lot. We need to hear more of this. This is absolutely the message that everybody needs to hear. And I think it's a really nice way to kind of wrap up this episode, actually, because I would love to keep talking to you on that. And I think we could absolutely make it a whole day episode. But I think it's just such a pivotal thing to end on, in going, love everything you do, be proud of it. And yes, this is a very women heavy industry. And please, all you women out there, please do not shy away from your superpower. We are amazing creatures, I feel. We are fantastic at multitasking. A lot of us may have like young families out there like myself, and it's hustling. It's going, let's just do something that we're super passionate about. Go all in, surround yourself with people that are going to support you on that journey, and just keep working on building yourself up and having that amazing, my magical injection of confidence.
Yeah, and I would say I don't want to diss the men out there, because there are also some fabulous male trainers as well. So, and there's a lot of male trainers that are really doing it with the animals' welfare first and foremost in their minds, and that's brilliant. So
yeah, we do need more men in this industry. So those of you who are listening, get on it. Come and join us on the podcast.
We actually seem to have attracted quite a lot of men into our business with Canine Business Academy, which is really nice, actually, considering we're two women that just talk about the stuff we talk about and chat. Like, you said you'd listen to the podcast and you like the informal approach. But yeah, we do seem to be having that pull in for the men, actually.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think the service that you're offering as well is vital. It's a support system that everybody should have.
Oh, amazing.
Appreciate that. Thank
That's
you.
good to know.
Well, thank you ever so much for joining us on our episode today. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
If people want to find out more about you and your academy and all the things you're doing and all these exciting, amazing courses that you're clearly always creating, how do they do that?
They would go to positively.com is the website. And as I said, if you're a dog guardian, you're going on there. There's great courses for you. But also if you're a trainer and go to positively.com, you can use these courses as your support system as well. And then, if you are interested in becoming a dog trainer and learning with VSA, you'd go to vsdogtrainingacademy.com. Then I'm on all the socials under my name, Victoria Stillwell. And also, if you want to see more, It's Me or the Dog, then just go to the It's Me or the Dog social channels. They're on every kind of platform. And yeah, the show for that's on the Really channel in the UK, It's Me or the Dog, the final season comes out. Well, I don't know if it's the final season, but I think it is because I'm really tired. That comes out in August. And then the Dog Academy, it comes out sometime on Channel 4 in the not too distant future.
Amazing. And we've got one more question for you. And this seems to stump a lot of people, this question. So yeah, just prepare yourself. It's not that bad, honestly. Who do you know that would be an awesome guest for us to have on the podcast and spread this message even further?
I think, as I said, Ali Lesner would be an amazing guest on your podcast. Amazing guest. Because she can talk to more of the sort of, well, I think she would be perfect because of her business acumen and also her knowledge of adult learners. I would say she would be a great guest, but I have a long list, so I could give you that list at some point.
Pass it on.
Amazing.
But no, that sounds like a great start. So yeah, thank you again, Victoria, for coming on. And yeah,
we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Thanks for having me.